this a little bit. The Avalanche, fellas. Okay, we got some problems here. You know we got some problems here with the Avalanche, right? They're getting no scoring except for the big guys. The big guys are few. There are fewer big guys. It's coming down to the big guys, or two big guys, McKinnon and McCarron. That's feeling like that's just about it. The defense.
And one of your big guys is a scorer from the back end.
That's right. That's right. And Jared Bednar's out there. Well, you know, we were used to be a high-scoring, flying-around team, and they're still 11th in scoring. It's not like it's down, but they were 1, 2, no lower than 5 over the past few years. 11th? It's quite a drop-off. They're getting no contributions from anybody on the second ball. They're not getting any contributions from anybody. Frankly, they scored 2 goals in 2 games. Defense is fine. Goaltending's fine.
Well, it was just a shame that the whole team had to be playing in the Four Nations for the last, week and a half or whatever it was.
4 players.
Yeah. Well, the whole team was apparently tired from that.
I see what you're saying.
I think Nathan McKinnon and Taves and Cale Makar, they're the ones that went to Cancun.
Right.
And the rest of these guys were tired.
I guess so. I don't think it's a question of if they're going to do something at the trade deadline on March 7th. It's what are they going to do? Because clearly this cannot be the team that you take into the playoffs. Correct?
It's pretty amazing for a team that has just relied on outscoring people forever to feel like that's a problem.
Yep.
That's what's going on.
That's what's going on.
Not defense, not which has been the story for 2 years now.
Not defense, not goaltending. Scoring. Scoring is the issue. We all know what's going on here, right? I mean, we get it.
So what does it mean? What do you mean?
Scott, what do you think?
Well, to start the season, it was goaltending, right? I mean, you're losing game.
Yes.
You're losing games 6-3, 7-4, so on and so forth. And now, I'd like to see. Do you remember what the scores of the game was in Calgary and Edmonton?
I can look it up. I
want
to say
right before they break.
I think they got 5 against. You know what? I'll look it up real quick. I don't have to guess. Give me a second. I'll find it, my man. But those were 2 remarkable wins. I'll tell you that. I mean, after losing to Vancouver, the last thing I thought is they were going to beat Calgary and Edmonton, and they did. So hey, man, that was awesome. They won 4-2 and 5-4. 5-4 against Edmonton, 4-2 against Calgary. So pretty good. Really good.
So scoring, we weren't worried about scoring going into the break, were we? To me, this is a side effect of when you give a team 2 weeks off. We talked about, Malone talked about for the break. What Hubie Brown always said, going into a break and coming out of a break, teams either go too soon to their little vacay time or they stay on too long to their vacay time. And I think that's similar issues with the Nuggets also. They'd fought from 23rd up to like 12th, 11th or 12th in defense going into the break and coming out, where to go. They'd started controlling the turn. And to me, these are both teams that are playing like they're on the break still. And the problem is, well, even both teams, you're in the grind. You're in the playoff grind now. You're in the seed grind.
Ain't no doubt about it. Ain't no doubt about
it. For both of those teams, and to me, they both seem mentally checked out right now.
Okay.
I think it's more mental than physical.
Well, guess
to be
what?
Honest with you.
You know what's funny? They've had so many deals done. I mean, they got rid of both goaltenders, and the biggest trade, one of the biggest trades in Avalanche history happened. But all that happened well before the trade deadline. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like they've already had the trade deadline come and gone because they've made so many big moves. The trade deadline is March 7th. So we were talking and obsessing about this with the Nuggets. And now it's time to do with the Avalanche. You have, what, a week and a half to figure out what this team is going to be for the rest of this year. A week and a half. And you've already made a ton of moves, none of which have seemed to really work aside from your goaltending got better, which is a big deal.
Well, figure out how to get Sid. Everything will be perfect.
Okay, is that the magic potion?
That's the easy magic potion, right?
I mean, sure, I'll take that. I'm not as nuanced in all the finite, scorers out there. That it's obvious if you're just asking like me as a dummy, would that be cool? Because I'll just say, sure, work with Ray Bourque and Sidney Crosby. Sure, I don't know how you do it,
I'm
but
I'm being a bit facetious when I say it because it seems like it feels very unlikely. But hey, if Sidney Crosby wanted it, it would happen.
Well, the issue that you've got right now where the Avalanche are, and they're the first wild card spot, is this just going to be a year where that you're just really not that good and you're not really a championship team because you just don't have the depth. And this turns out, Scott, to be one of the weaker rosters you've had in a long time. And what are you supposed to do with that despite having the MVP and the Norris Trophy? Like, McKinnon and Makar could easily win the Hart Norris this year. Easily. They're having those kind of years. But it's also smelling like a first-round bounce.
Just 3 years ago when you won the Cup, you had two threatening lines. And if you go even to the fourth line, now all of a sudden you have one of those fourth lines that were so scrappy and so scary and were changing, the speed of the game. You had a fast, speedy, grindy fourth line that got everything going up in turmoil. And then all of a sudden here comes McKinnon and Ranton and all those starters back. And all of a sudden you're like, boom, wow. You have one line that's been consistent. You talk about depth. There's no threat of scoring. I saw a stat today. It's been 11 games since anybody from the second, third, or fourth line has scored a goal or something like that.
Insane. Crazy.
That's a lack of scoring depth. I like the Brizhnikov guy they brought in. I think he's a great-looking young player, but they don't. I mean, even when you brought in Kadri, that was a veteran guy, right? And I know that he'd had some shaky appearances with Toronto and some other teams, and he had kind of a iffy reputation. Even started with a little iffy reputation here, but that was a veteran guy that knew the moment. And I just don't see those guys with a puck on their hand. And why the only thing I would say okay with Crosby is because that's at least a veteran guy that's not going to be shaken on a 2-1 deficit with 5 minutes to go. He's not going to be shaken in the first round of the playoffs when the Kraken come in. That's the only reason I would say somebody like that. I think his better days are way beyond him. But we saw in the Four Nations saying, dude's still a leader and still well respected.